By the end of this video, if you're a chess parent, you will know what is the right age to start teaching chess to your kids. Hello everyone, I am Grandmaster and FIDE trainer Priyadarshan Kannappan, founder of Chess Gaja Academy. So we have a newsletter where we ask our parents, chess parents, general newsletter subscribers to ask their chess queries so that I can answer them and give some, perspective on what are the right things to do in terms of chess learning, approaching the game, and so on. So for this month's newsletter questions, I've handpicked two of them and I would like to answer them via this video. So the first question that was asked by a parent, especially a chess parent, is that to succeed in Indian national championships, is it important to start early? I see parents pushing 4-year-old kids in under state and national championships of under 11, 13, and 15, and so on. We started late at the age of 8 for my kid, and the kid is now 9 years old. So please advise, are we late? And that was another part of the question which this parent had asked, which is that is it full-time chess mandatory for success in Indian national and state championships? We have this notion that only the kids who had success early on improve their ratings and consequently get better coaching. So let me first answer the first half of the question. To succeed in Indian nationals, is it important to start early? What is early is the kind of the question here, right? So first, let me say at what age I started playing chess. I started playing chess when I was about 6.5 years old, and I became a grandmaster when I was about 24 years old. So for me, from being an absolute beginner to becoming a grandmaster was about like 17 years of chess journey. Yeah, somewhere around that. And if you look at, let's say, the grandmasters and their age now, we see grandmasters at the age of somewhere between 12 to 16 often these days, especially in 2025, 2026 as we are approaching. So chess is clearly becoming a younger player sport. You have to become a grandmaster much earlier. And now we have a world champion in Gukesh, who is like, like one of the youngest world champions in history. So chess is clearly becoming a sport where younger players are a lot more successful than older players. So that means you also end up having to start the game early. So, as I said, in my experience, I started playing chess when I was 6.5 years old. At that point in time, the philosophy was if you start around the age of 5.5, 6, it was still a right time to start. But increasingly, as we see in 2025 or in 2026, young players are starting to learn chess at the age of like 4, maybe even 3.5. So if you are looking to make your kid successful and kind of like, very serious about long-term results, I think the correct age is somewhere around 4 or 4.5 years old now. You cannot really teach younger than that. I think it's very tough to even keeping kids focused on chess, right? Like, or anything, keeping them focused for, let's say, a few minutes itself would be a tough task, in my opinion. So if you start learning at the age of 4, 4.5, you increase your chances of becoming successful in the long run in chess. But that does not mean if you start, let's say, playing chess at the age of 6 or 6.5, you do not have a chance to become a titled player like an IM or GM. There are still ample examples of players who start at the age of 6, 6.5, and end up becoming strong chess players and titled chess players. If you start at the age of 8 or 9, it is clearly late. Not just by 2025 or 2026 standards, even I would say by, let's say, around like 2000 year standards, it's like when you start at the age of 8 or 9, it was late. So what should I do? I was not aware that I should start chess early to my kid, and my kid is already 8 or 9 years old. The way I always tell to all parents and students is approach chess from a perspective of skill development. Because if 100 players start playing chess, I would say at least 99 to 99.5 percentage of them are not going to take it as, let's say, a career or as a serious profession in the long run. Most of them would drop out of the game and they would end up pursuing education or their other hobbies and so on when they become adults or teens and so on. So, even if you start at the age of 8, you can still, learn the crucial good qualities that chess teaches to a kid. And those good qualities are like concentration, keeping your focus, being in the zone, trying to evaluate time scrambles and how to make decisions under time pressure. And for example, about like better understanding of like space, and for example other really I would say skills that translate to real life is, for example, like trades, is it like a good exchange or a bad exchange, because you're always having to choose between one option or other in life and so on. So my general suggestion to most parents is, like, you should make your kid at least get a FIDE rating. And a FIDE rating is like somewhere around 1400 these days. It's not that tough to get a FIDE rating. So if you start late for your kid, let them enjoy the process if they absolutely love the game, even if they started late, and let them see how far they can go. They might end up like being a 2200 or an IM level player if they continue to enjoy the game. But if they don't have that much interest for the game, at least, they should push to a level where they get a FIDE rating, because FIDE rating is for life. If you get a FIDE rating and you manage to maintain your rating, it's going to be on the FIDE website and you are a accredited FIDE rated chess player. So that is what I would always suggest to parents if they start late or even if they start young. There are scenarios where young players lose interest in the game when they are 9, 10 years old or so, or many young kids might be playing chess purely because of parent pressure. In that situation, the kid might not have a lot of interest to get better at the game, even if pushed. And I've also seen personally examples of international masters, grandmasters, who did not really like the sport much, but were pushed into the game by their parents when they were young. But when they had the ability to take independent decisions, most of such players ended up not to pursue the sport and end up pursuing other hobbies, because those players end up being very burnt out, or they did not like chess as a game and they found much other avenues to spend their time. It could be in education or it could be in terms of, like, let's say, pursuing other hobbies. So, very summarized answer, I would say, if you started at the age of 8, yes, it's a bit late, but that doesn't mean you should not pursue the game. You should still keep the interest of the kid alive and see how far the kid can go. And the major decision making point for the kid to pursue chess seriously or to focus on academics or other interests generally happens from an Indian context when the kid gets into the 10th grade, because that's kind of like a crucial decision making. So at that point in time, you have to make a decision, or you have to give the decision to your kid how they want to further pursue their interest in chess. I hope that gave some clarity to this question. And about the other part of the same question is that, should a 4-year old end up playing in under 11, 13, 15 nationals and so on? I would say preferably don't do that, because if a kid goes and plays in an under 13 state or national, they're going to play with kids who are much more experienced than them. So they'll end up losing a lot of games. If you end up losing a lot of games, there is a very high risk that the kid might lose interest in the game. Generally, interest is sustained when the kid wins some trophies, wins some prizes, and and wins a lot of games. The kid feels much more motivated to do better and better. So you have to strike a very fine and right balance of putting the kid in a stronger section, and at one point putting the kid in, in a tournament where the kid can win a nice trophy and get motivated. So for an under 4 or 5 year old kid, maybe you could put the kid in an under 7 category. It's slightly stronger than their age, but definitely not a very tough category. But under 13, 15 and all, definitely I would not recommend unless your kid is like super talented, already has a FIDE rating and so on, then you can put it in any age category. But for a 5-year-old, first put them in local tournaments, age category tournaments. Let them get more comfortable with the tournament settings and how to play chess in tournaments in official settings. And once they're more comfortable, you can put them even in open tournaments if you want to, or in, let's say, like, higher age category tournaments. So now let me go to the second half of the question this parent asked. Is like, pursuing or like practicing chess full time necessary to have success in Indian nationals and state? Yes. Chess, at least from an Indian context, is hyper competitive. If your kid, let's say, consistently finishes in top 10 in your kid's age category nationals, your kid has a very good potential to take chess as a professional career. I would say not even state, but nationals, because it's that competitive these days. So if you decide to pursue chess as a hobby, none of these things would really matter. And I would say 99.5% of the kids are going to pursue chess as a hobby and not going to take it as a serious career or as a sport in the long run. So you should not hold back your kid from playing, like local open tournaments, or let's say age category tournaments or federated tournaments, even if it's a hobby pursuit. So kids who end up being very successful in the game, there are certain qualities they generally have. They have immense amount of interest over the sport. It is not easy to build a great love for the game by the coaches or by the parents. The kid should have a natural interest to the game. So imagine you give your kid 1 hour of time and the kid spends that 1 hour in some form or activity in chess without, like, getting distracted, then your kid is really, really into the game, right? That is a very good sign to spot. But let's say you give 1 hour to your kid and the kid spends 5 minutes on chess and then feels very bored and ends up, let's say, watching a cartoon or doing something much more that the kid finds interesting, then maybe the kid is not interested in the sport, right? That's a very simple way to test. The players who end up being very successful at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15, by what I have seen, they are very, very like interested in the game. Natural talent is an added advantage, but not a necessity to be very successful in chess. Other than that, the correct kind of ecosystem, support system that the kid gets is also very crucial to have success in national level, international level, and so on. Finding the right coach is also very, very important. I'm not saying this because I run an online chess academy, so like I have to emphasize about coaching. But what I've seen from my personal example interacting with chess coaches, I would have interacted with at least, let's say, like 2,000 chess coaches at this point in time, minimum, I'm saying, right? And what I've seen is many coaches, they end up giving some poor or sometimes misinformed guidance to the parents or students, or they end up focusing on short-term success of the student. But when you focus on a very short-term basis, you miss the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is generally about building a very strong foundation and building strengths on top of it. But many situations, short-term success is heavily prioritized by majority of the coaches because that makes the parents happy and so on, and a lot of things that are in this, right? And because of that, the kid at one point learns a lot of opening traps, tricks, gets very successful in young categories, but they kind of like end up when they're competing with stronger opponents, they easily figure out these traps and gambits and so on, and the player is unable to succeed further, and that also kind of kills the motivation in the long run. So it becomes crucial to find some coaches who prioritize long-term improvement instead of like just short-term success. This is one of it. And if your kid can consistently finish, let's say, in national top 10, then definitely you can consider a chess career in the long run. But if your kid is like, let's say, 10 years old, a 1400 or a 1500 FIDE rating, or even 1600 FIDE rating, And will my kid have a chess playing career that could be very successful? I highly doubt that your kid can have, because these days, generally at the age of 10 or 11, there are players who are like even 2100, 2200 FIDE rating, and we are even starting to see grandmasters at the age of 13, 14, and so on. So you should see the benchmark. What is like the highest rated player for my kid's age category, and how far is my kid behind? If your kid is way, way, way behind, let's say like, let's say 400 points behind the category, or 300 points behind the rating category, with the highest rated being for that age category, then, there's a lot of catching up to do, and it is not that easy to do that catching up. Yeah. And this is why kids who generally have early on success and also continue to have their interest in the game retained and actually enhanced further, they end up being a lot more successful in the sport. So identify how much interest your kid has in the game. If your kid has a hobby level interest, nothing wrong about it. Take your kid to that level of coaches who sustain the interest. May not be helpful a lot in improving their game a lot, because you also as a parent might be thinking, if my kid is going to take chess as a hobby, why should I invest in professional chess coaching? Yeah. So I would generally split chess coaching into kind of two or three major buckets. One is like the hobby classes, where they just teach you how to move the pieces, teach you a few tricks here and there. And then there are serious professional coaching. I'm not splitting this by rating of the coach. I'm just splitting it in terms of what is the focus of the classes. So Chess Gaja and all is about like kind of like professional classes. Like we ensure you try to reach to the best of your ability in terms of chess improvement whenever possible. But there are options or academies where they purely intend to keep the classes light, fun, and just kind of like keep the kid engaged for the 1 hour or so of the class that is conducted. So that's a parent decision to make, which kind of path you want to choose for your kid. So I hope that's kind of like a very detailed answer to this question by a chess parent. And I'm sure a lot of chess parents have this question. And I hope it gave some added clarity to the parent who asked this question. So the second question that was got or we received at Chess Gaja this month is like, how do you stay calm and approach a position after queens get exchanged? So basically, I think this was asked by a chess player, most likely a young chess player, and they're kind of panicking how to approach end games. So endgames itself is a very vast chess topic to learn and improve. And there are a lot of amazing chess resources where you can learn endgames. There are like YouTube videos on chess endgames, some amazing chess books. Let's say like there is like a endgame book by international master Jeremy Silman. There are very good endgames written, like 100 endgame patterns you must know, 100 endgames you must know, by Grandmaster Jesus de la Villa Garcia. There are also some very nice endgame books like Chess Endgames for Kids and so on, written by Grandmaster Karsten Muller and so on. So endgame is a fascinating topic, but sometimes young kids find it boring as it's not very tactical in nature. So generally, when queens get exchanged off the board, you have to focus on improving your piece placement, kind of improving your pawn structure. If you have a passed pawn or some pawn structure advantage, you should try to take advantage of it. If you have a passed pawn, you should try to push it as much as possible. You should try to make your minor pieces and rooks, if you have any on the board, as active as possible, trying to take control of the open files and diagonals, trying to slowly bring your king towards the center. So these are some of the general chess advice I would say to approach end games. And there are a lot of players whose games you can watch to get really good at end games. For example, in modern chess, Magnus Carlsen is one of the best end game players. You can learn a lot from it. like watching his games, especially how he approaches end games and so on. And also definitely the books I mentioned. And if you just search end game chess lessons, grandmasters, you can find a lot of useful chess content in YouTube, or let's say, some sort of like league chess studies and so on. So this is what I would suggest for the person who asked this question. And before I wrap up this video, one last information I wanted to share with all the viewers who are watching this video in the Chess Gaja YouTube channel. We have a chess camp, or kind of a master class, where I am teaching how to dominate the opening. And these classes start on January 5, 2026. And these classes are scheduled for 5 to 6 p.m. IST. And it's a group class, and we are going to allow only 15 students in this group class. Of the 15, already 8 slots are already registered. So you only have 7 slots remaining. And this camp, you will find all the details in the poster, and also we will attach this class detail in the description of this video. So if you would like to know more about it, you can click and watch or see the details. This camp is going to be very suitable for players if in the FIDE rating range of 1400 to 1550, or if their chess.com rapid rating is between 1100 to 1450, or if their Lee Chess classical rating is somewhere between 1500 to 1800. So this is the kind of suggested rating ranges. You will find it absolutely useful if you're in this rating range. So do consider enrolling for it if you would like to learn how to dominate in opening phase of the game. And this class is going to be personally taught by me every single session of this class. So we are going to have 4 classes in January. So you will find it absolutely useful. And the charges for this class is 4,800 INR plus an 18% GST. Or if you are from Singapore and you would like to enroll, we would be charging around 85 Singapore dollars for the class. So if you'd like to get more details about this class, please reach out to the Chess Gaja team. They would be helping you out in the enrollment process. I hope you've got a lot of useful chess information as a chess player or as a chess parent watching this video. If you like our videos, not just this video, but a lot of our other videos, do consider subscribing to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, so more chess parents could kind of benefit and kind of get their queries clarified. That's it from me, Grandmaster and FIDE trainer Priyadarshan Kannappan, founder of Chess Gaja Academy. I will see you in another video where we'll discuss about chess improvements and chess tips and so on. Bye-bye.